It's the Onstage Podcast with Chris Ruppert.
Thank you.
What happened?
Well, some time ago, you went out drinking, and then you decided to drive, and you got into an accident.
When was this?
This was a long time ago. Let me check. Oh, wow, this happened way back in 2021.
Way back. What year is it?
It's 2031.
What? No.
Mr. Williams, I'm sorry to be the one to have to deliver this news, but you've been in a coma for over 10 years. I'm sure this is a lot to have to deal with.
George! I didn't know if you would ever wake up.
I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. I never thought that it would get this bad.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're gonna have to run a few tests first just to make sure he's stable, okay?
Okay, I guess I can wait outside.
No, wait. Can you call Amelia? I need to hear her voice. What's wrong?
Amelia isn't with us anymore.
What does that mean?
A few years ago, we were in a car accident. A drunk driver ran a stoplight and
No! No! No, my Amelia! No! Please. Please, I'll never touch another drop of alcohol again. I swear. Just... Please bring my Amelia back. Kathy. You're alive.
Eric, I almost didn't recognize you.
Yeah, I could say the same thing about you. You look great. But I don't understand. How did you...
I beat it. I beat the cancer. When you left, it was really hard. But I kept fighting, and eventually I got better. And now I'm cancer-free.
Welcome, everybody, to today's show. We have a wonderful guest today who we all know as in the Dhar Mann series. For those who don't know who Dhar Mann is, he's an American entrepreneur, film producer, better known for his video production company, Dhar Mann Studios, that creates short films for social media platforms such as YouTube. The films target a young audience and typically feature a term of events that teaches the protagonist a moral lesson. Now, us fans of the show probably have certain favorites such as Shantae Massard, who's got a new book out, by the way. You got to check that out. Mare Mulroney, Finn Sanders, Giovanna Vidal, who we're possibly going to have on as well. And our favorite, Sarah Maliski, and she's busy, so chances of her reaching out, slim, but you never know. The miracles of podcasting is out there, you know. And another Dhar Mann character and another Dhar Mann actor that we're so happy to have on our podcast right now is none other than Colin A. Borden. We have here today. Now, Colin, before we discuss this whole Dhar Mann situation and the protest a little later, can you give our audience a little bit about yourself? So, why did you choose acting and directing, and how you found yourself acting in Dhar Mann series?
Well, I started acting when I was in third grade. I just followed a friend of mine to an audition for like a community theater play, and it was like instantly things started clicking, you know, and it was just a great world to be in. And from there, we started, you know, making backyard bit films and things like that on VHS, and just kind of delving into all that kind of thing. And when I was in high school, I went to the High School for Creative and Performing Arts, which Questlove graduated from, Black Thought, Leslie Odom Jr. Like, we boast a pretty good roster of alumni. I went there for drama, and I would do my classwork, right, my regular drama classwork, which was several hours taken out of our day, and then we'd have a couple, regular real high school classes. So I'd do the drama stuff, and then I'd go and rehearse the school play, whatever we were putting on, and then I'd go and rehearse play downtown with MacGuffin Theater Film Company, and then on the weekends I'd be taking other classes like with MacGuffin. I'd be doing plays at the Arden or the Walnut, and it was just all-consuming. Constant work, but we also had a TV film program at our school, and it was like an old TV production. But we had again like the giant VHS things, and getting more into that, editing, VCR deck to deck editors, and just I fell in love with that more kind of production side of things. So I kind of felt a little burnt out on the acting. It was just like constant. And now this sort of TV film thing reared its head, and I started studying that and got into directing. I went to film school in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is now closed, unfortunately. Met my wife there. We moved together to Los Angeles here and just started working in the movies. I worked on all sorts of big major productions like Thor and Transformers 2 and slightly smaller productions. I worked a lot at Sony Studios, which always holds a little place in my heart. But the problem with like working when you work in the movies, but you're not making the movie, you don't really have time to do anything else. It's 12 to 16 hours a day. So you don't have time to go and write your script. You don't have time to, get your money together and make your thing. So my wife and I, who's a director and a producer, we would make little movies where we could here and there, a couple of which are behind me right now. But it was sort of slow going, and you kind of learn pretty early on that they don't hire directors for indie films. A director makes their indie film. You have to do it all on your own. If you have the money, you're going to make the movie. You're not going to go out and look for a director. So it's sort of harder to kind of get that foot in the door. But with the acting, my wife was working on a TV show in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I was out there with her, and she said, "Hey, why don't you go out for a play?" I thought, "Oh yeah, that could be kind of fun." And I went out, and again, it's like just a regular open call audition. I went, and I thought, "Oh man, this is fun." They put the book in my hand. I went up, I cold read the scenes. It's like, that was fun. I want to get a call back. If I can get a call back, I'll feel pretty good about myself. I don't have to be in the play, but I think maybe this could kind of work. I could get back into this, and got the part, did the play. They invited me. I didn't have to audition for the next one. They just invited me and gave me a part. I was like, okay, this is good. Now we're off and rolling here. And just the metrics are better, right? Like the majority of things, you're only going to hire one director if you're going to hire a director, but you got to hire at least two actors usually. There's not a lot of one-man shows. So it just sort of made a little bit more sense that, okay, well, I'll kind of pivot a little bit. I still am directing things, plays, movies, shorts, a web series that's right there. But I could pursue acting a little bit more full time and kind of go after that. So when we moved back to Los Angeles, I just really kind of dug down and worked a little hard on that. And one day I got an email from these people who were making what I thought to be a short film about, it was the one I auditioned for was a husband is really mean to his wife, something like that. And I technically booked that part, but I couldn't do it because I had another gig. So I said, "Thank you very much. I can't do it. Thank you." So then they called or emailed it again a week or so later and said, "Hey, we got another one that we're doing. Can you come do this?" I said, "Yes." That's when I found out that it was a kind of more of a series. We were just on Facebook at that point. And yeah, they just kind of got involved the old-fashioned way, auditioned, and you show up, you try to do the best work you can, you're friendly, and they keep having you back.
That's amazing, because now look what you are. You're an actor, you're a director, producer, an editor, plus you meet a woman named Ann Raymie who ends up being a director herself. Was that planned, or was it
No,
just
I mean, we met at film school. So Anna and I met at film school. So we were along the same path anyway. And right away when we started dating, we started just working on each other's projects. First at film school and then moving out here. Anything that either one of us touches, the other one is involved in some blush. Even if it's just like we go out to the bar or whatever and sit down, and I go like, I can't crack this scene in this script. Talk to me about it. And we just talk it through. Like there's every little project that we've ever done is a partnership, and it's been brilliant.
That's great. My cat always wants to be part of this podcast. Please stay there. That is awesome. Yeah. So, what do you think is the most hardest part of your talent? Is acting, the directing, the producing, the editing? What do you think is the most difficult part of that?
Of that process, I would say that the writing is the hardest thing to do. Breaking a story, coming up with it initially, and then just sitting down. I don't know. This quote has been attributed to many people. I heard it attributed to Gene Wilder, but he says writing is really easy. You just sit down and stare at the blank page until your forehead starts bleeding. So it's. I think that is the hardest part, to kind of put the whole basic thing together, and after that, it really just becomes play. Even directing, there's these initial sort of setups. You're shot listing. You're thinking about all the things you're putting out. You have to do the arduous work of putting out a casting call, right? Like distilling your big main part of however many pages down to like a one sentence thing. That's certainly difficult in its own right. But after that, man, the audition process, you're just working with actors. You bring on, an art director, whatever, and it's just play like, oh yeah, I was thinking that it would be big and blue and maybe a little bit of this, and they go, oh, like they draw a little picture, and you're like that, like, yeah, but maybe a little more there. Yeah, I can do that, and it all just becomes more enjoyable and less work. The writing is hard.
How do you put yourself into the part that you have to act? Like, for instance, in the Dhar Mann studios, like for 10-minute or 15-minute video, how long does it take to film that?
Well, at the very beginning, we would do one long 14, 16-hour day. Just before I left, we were doing maybe 4 8-hour days to shoot one 22-minute video, which is a pretty good leisurely clip, all things considered. My wife directs. She was just directed an episode of the TV show called Minx. They shoot a 22-minute episode in 6 days, 12-hour days. Now are a lot bigger. There are a lot more moving parts. There are a lot of more people involved, and they do a lot more, far more setups where they put the camera. But yeah, in 22 minutes, 8-hour days, 4 8-hour days is pretty good. So, and again, that too, you do all your work ahead of time. You learn the script, you get the lines down, you figure out all your motivations and things like that. There's a lot of pre-work. But as soon as I get to the set, especially on something like Dhar Mann, where it's very collaborative in terms of your fellow actors, in terms of the directors, all the other crew, the gaffer and the PAs and the sound guys, they're all just so kind and nice and funny, and it just really makes the day wonderful. Even on these days where you're weeping, right? Like it's like, oh my gosh, I just learned that my wife has been cheating on me, and I have cancer, and like you just like a shell. You go home, you're exhausted, but in the in between moments, it's just joy. You just get to kind of create with people, and there's an established trust on a show like that. You work together for so long. Catherine Norland, I can show up and know that I can play with Catherine. She and I can throw things at each other that the other person maybe wasn't expecting, and from that creates a reality and creates chemistry because we're really kind of just being there with each other, and that becomes really exciting.
Do you have to do table reads for not just Dhar Mann, but any acting job you get? You have to do table reads where you sit down and you just be the character at the table with the script in your hand? Because I heard from another actor who said that he did that a lot.
Yeah, it depends on the show. It's kind of up to the discretion of the director or the producers. I like it because usually, especially on a movie, it's the only time you're going to see the whole thing in one go. Um, you really kind of you can read the script on your own, but you don't necessarily know what Karen's planning on doing with her part until you kind of get a little bit of a notion of her voice and her style. And yeah, from the table read to the final production, a lot of stuff very possibly will change, but it really gives you an early sense of the tone, of the rhythms, of all the stuff that really help your job in building your character and in what you have to do to accomplish the story. All that stuff is really helpful. But on Dar, we used to do them all the time. We don't do them so much anymore. Maybe we'll read just the scene that we're about to work on. But yeah, I like them. I really like a nice big table read with everybody there, and y'all got a cup of tea or something like that, and just have fun.
Do you get I guess you get along with most of the actors and actresses. Is there any particular actor, actress, or director or sound anybody that you work with that you don't get along with that you have to get along with?
No, I did do one show one time, which I will not give a lot of details to. And I just did not have a good time on it. Which may have been a little bit on me as well. But no, I would say generally speaking, artists are, we do this work because it is thrilling and enjoyable. Actors, directors, writers, there is just an incredible joy that is derived from the work, and lots of times, yeah, it's you got to buckle down. It's time to do the work. There are moments where you have to be serious, where you have to get it done. I'm in a play right now. The director has a rule: no cell phones, right? So you cannot have a cell phone anywhere near this guy, and it helps the work, and in between the moments and everything like that, we're joking, we're playing around, it's all good. But when it's time to focus up, you have to be there. You got to be present. So every now and then, a set doesn't jive with a certain personality. Every now and then, there is somebody who's maybe their spirit of fun has been beaten out of them, and they're a little bit too precious or serious. I mean, that's the other thing. What you have to kind of realize early on is, as an actor, you want to do your part the best way that you possibly can, right? You want to show up, you want to be ready, prepared. But again, you don't know what Karen's going to do with her part, and you ultimately have no real control, which is one, terrifying, and two, freeing in its own way. You don't know how they're going to cut the final picture. You don't know where you're necessarily going to be on the blocking on the stage, what the light is going to do to your face. You're not in control of these things. You can suggest, you can beg, you can plead, but at the end of the day, the movie will be cut the way the movie is going to be cut. You know that you gave the best performance on take 3, but they chose take 2 because the lighting was. So you have to surrender yourself to the process, and you may as well just enjoy everybody while you're there.
Yeah, I remember that one episode with Shantae, and she was like an attorney, but they were faking injuries, and then you ended up you played the FBI agent.
Yeah.
What are the dangers, Colin, of, for instance, I remember the movie Jeffrey Dahmer and the guy that played Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, what are the dangers of taking that character home with you? Like, if you become an evil character and you take it home with you, do you ever become that character at home and realize, I'm not?
I don't know. I've certainly there's characters. I did a play where I played a Klingon. I was an evil Klingon one time, and I had established a voice for that guy, and I wanted to get that right. So I would talk in the voice a little bit more at home, or I would be a little bit louder at times. But I personally, no, have not necessarily experienced that. I've never played anything like a Jeffrey Dahmer, where I have to develop this character too far from myself. But like I say, there is the work, there's the time to be serious, and there's the time to sort of step back and enjoy yourself and realize that you're creating and you're playing, and very few people have the benefit of being able to do this for a living. So you may as well enjoy yourself in the midst of it. So yeah, I could see in some ways a person who's playing like a really focused character might have it. Like I know that for a fact that what's his knuckle? Daniel Day-Lewis, right? Everybody talks about him going full method all the time. But the fact is, he's at work. He knows that he's at work. He just doesn't want to lose certain things. So he talked the whole time in like his Lincoln voice, right? Because he didn't want to lose that voice. He himself is an Irishman. Abraham Lincoln is not. He wanted to have the most authentic Abraham Lincoln voice the entire time, which means not just memorizing his lines. It means getting that the whole time. It means being able to work on his feet and to improvise. So he commits in that way. He stays true to the character, to the voice, to the body that he's established, so that he doesn't lose it in the moment. But hey, Daniel, Mr. President, please go stand on your mark. He goes and he stands on his mark. He's there to work. The continuity was kind of off. Make sure that you lift your hand. Okay, I'll try and make that happen. Yeah, with an organic movement. So somebody like that even is. You don't keep working if you're a real jerk. I would say that.
If you were actually given a script and say, okay, you're supposed to be an evil asshole, and you're supposed to beat your wife, but you have to get into character for a whole week before we film, you have to be that husband at home. Is that a no to you?
Oh, that's absolutely a no. No, I mean, I could see you got to go to boot camp to go play a soldier or whatever, so that we can instill that in you. But no, you don't get to dictate what I do at home, certainly.
Well, for the movie G.I. Jane, that's exactly what Demi Moore had to do. She had to get trained by military officers in boot camp just to be part of the G.I. Jane, just to immerse herself in the role. And many actors and actresses.
Yeah, I mean, that goes into to research, and research is so much fun. Doing parts and things like that. I know, like Harrison Ford, he was playing the fugitive. He's playing a brain surgeon. It's only the first couple minutes of the film, but he scrubbed up and he went into the surgical theater, and he watched the process. I don't know if he touched anybody's brain or grabbed a scalpel or anything like that, but he did. He immersed himself in that world. He stood in the room. He heard the way the doctors talked to each other, the quality of their voice, the any kind of rush that they had, and he studies that sort of thing. You take like a wife beater or something like that. You have to play something like that. Nobody should go and attempt to actually live that. That's harmful to you yourself, to so many other people, but you can extrapolate. I've been so ticked off that I've punched a wall before, right? Like I can disassociate. I can find that within me. I can find those levels within me. I can connect to something that I actually have done, and then just switch the lane or whatever. And yeah, you're playing in something like that on the day. Maybe you're a little more prickly on set. Maybe you're hold up in your trailer, or you got a headphone on so you can put yourself in a mood. But I think that some people hear this term method and they think that that means becoming, but I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that when you really get into the work.
When you do editing, do you edit most when you're directing a movie and you go into the editing? I suppose sometimes you may not like the way you did things, so you would edit that part out because you cut the actors out.
Right.
So how do you maintain that balance so that you come up with this? Like, for instance, You Don't Get Time Travel, which is an excellent movie. How long did it take you to do that one for only a 2-minute and 47-second film?
The shooting of it took me a day. Just changing my shirt and running around the room. And then the editing took a little bit longer, but I only shot a few takes of myself every time. and it was really just really about all of the two characters, in the same frame and stuff. But yeah, certainly, you want to you want the movie to be the best movie that it can be, and you have to have an eye that there's a little bit more outside of yourself. It's not just watching like, oh, I didn't like my hair on that one. It's like, well, what is the character doing in service of the story? Like, I think you just try to think about it more along those lines, and let the work speak for itself rather than your big ugly mug staring back at you.
Well, everyone, in the description will be You Don't Get Time Travel, all the other shorts of Dhar Mann for Colin of Borden, so you can watch those. But yes, so I like that film, You Don't Get Time Travel, and Scary Finger. Like,
Yeah.
whose brilliant idea was that one?
Stafford Douglas, who played the guy, the guy with the finger, he wrote it. He and I directed a film called Shotgun that Stafford wrote as well. He did not act in that one. And then he acted in the film that I directed called The Herd. That's where we met each other.
Yeah.
And just sort of started this great collaboration. He had the script, Scary Finger, and said, well, I don't know what to do with this. I said, we'll do it. We'll make it. Went out, got my friend Rob Overbeck to produce it for me. My wife helped to produce it. And it was great fun. What he was able to do, we kind of like choreographed all that stuff together, and that was a fun day. He came over to my house, and we went in the basement with a mattress, and he just threw himself around for a few hours. It was great. I cut speaking of what you were saying earlier, I cut his best scene from the movie. I'm not his best scene, I don't want to say that, but he had this really great emotional moment where he and the finger have this emotional showdown. He's weeping, he's shaking. We only did a couple takes of it because he was nailing it. Everybody's got chills. It's like, that was so fantastic. But it gave the movie two endings. That was a resolution, and we didn't see that until you cut the whole movie together. We love the script, we love the beat in the scene while we're shooting it. It feels so good. We get to the edit, and the movie had two endings, and that didn't really work. So we went with the more big, exciting, climactic ending, and everybody was giving me the note like, oh, it feels a little long. I cut that scene. It's 5 seconds. That's pretty much all I cut. This feels much better now. So like reading the note behind the note, it feels long because we thought that the movie was over. And he totally understood. And I sent him, I hope I did. I think I sent him the scene so he could have it for his reel. But yeah, you gotta make some hard choices sometimes. Just go for the story.
Well, I'm not going to give it away, but I want people to watch it. But the ending where he finally gets the girl, but then, as you're saying, Dhar Mann, watch what happens, or then this happens, or he regrets it. That's it. He regrets it. But lovely film, and also really appreciated your Julius Caesar Act 1, Scene 2 part. Like, you're really good as a versatile actor and as a director, and that's why I thought, let's get Colin Borden on the show. And you're also a writer, we know that, and a producer. So you got all these accolades. It's amazing. Can you tell us about? I want to ask you about your character in Breaking Bad, Gary Strode, who's a lawyer. Did they come to you and say, "Listen, the character's name, Gary Strode. How are you going to make Gary Strode come to life?" Or did they say he's supposed to be like this, now do it? Or did you make it up?
I think generally speaking in TV, that's called, what's it called? A co-star. Yeah, that was a co-star part. That was a recurring co-star. You're pretty much on your own. I went and I was called by the casting director to come in and audition for a part. I auditioned for that part. They said, "Oh, you know what? No, actually, we want to give you this one. It's in 2 episodes rather than 1. It's got a little bit, beefier." So I auditioned for that. Then I auditioned for Gary, and it wasn't called Gary in the in the sides. The way that a show like Better Call Saul does their auditions is they pretty much make up every audition scene. You just read a new script so that nothing leaks. So it was very close to one of the scenes that we did, but I was called just like office employee, and then there's like, the part ultimately was Saul and Kim, but they were called, like Jerry and Rita or something. So that nothing leaked. But I went in, I did my part in the audition. Like a day later, I had booked it. I showed up on the set, and they gave me several nice suits, and I just kind of got to make some decisions for myself. I decided that I would be really impressed with Kim and love Kim. So I think every now and then, they don't cut to me very often, but every now and then you look, I'm like, you're awesome. But what was really cool about that set was Ray Seahorn, who plays Kim Wexler, was just there for us. The other associates, there were 3 of us, and then another guy with the DA. We were all these, co-stars, day player kind of things. And she took us into the adjacent conference room to where we were shooting, and we just ran the scene several times. She didn't give notes or anything like that. She wasn't like trying to tell anybody how to do their job, but she was just there, so helpful. And she's number 2 on the call sheet. She's a big deal. This is season 4, episode 8 or something like that. She has no need to help out the couple of people who show up for a day. But there she was doing it, and it was such a warm, great, welcoming set.
Gary Stroll was an excellent character. Who do you say was your favorite character in? Well, let's go back to Dhar Mann. We'll talk about that situation. But with Dhar Mann, who was your favorite character in those movies?
I had an affinity for Mr. Wilson, who was a teacher that I played several times. And Charlie, who was supposed to be an influencer named Charlie Rocket, but he and I looked nothing alike, and I didn't attempt to do his voice. I didn't realize I was playing a real person. Nobody ever told me anything like that until like after the episode came out. But playing those characters that I got to play a few times was fun, just kind of trying to connect them, and keep them kind of consistent. I had a bit of a backstory built up for Mr. Wilson. But that show, there is no continuity. The fact, I'm sure that somebody else is playing Mr. Wilson now. The fact that I got to play those parts multiple times was really nice and fun. And so, you show up and you get a script, and it's like, oh, that isn't necessarily in line with the backstory that I developed for Mr. Wilson. You got to, you just shoot that script and you jettison whatever that was in your mind, and you retcon something, whatever needs to kind of happen for you to be able to do that part. But those 2 were more enjoyable than your average part, I'd say.
Well, we're sad to hear the passing of Carl Judy. I mention that because I watched one called Barber Gives Free Haircuts to Homeless, where you played the older version. And I like the explanation to say, you see an initial scene of 20 years ago, I was here and got a job and stuff like that. And then you were a real estate agent. You had a brush cut. Now, did you get the brush cut for the character, or did you already have one? Because I figured that you might have shaved your head just for that part.
I completely shaved my head during the pandemic,
including this one.
Oh, completely bald, and that was just the week and a half later. They called me in for this one, and I thought it was very funny because at the end, I think that they cut the line, but at the end in the script, Carl's character was like, "You want to cut for old time's sake?" And I said, "Yeah." And so we kind of goofed around with some other ideas. Like he brushed my head and was like, "Oh, who's been working on you?" Or we. But I think at the end they just kind of cut it and we hugged, which is probably a better ending anyway. But no. I like going back to Mr. Wilson. I was doing this Klingon play, and I had a specific haircut and a big beard to play the Klingon. And I played Mr. Wilson once within that, and then I was going to play him again. and I had already kind of established this beard, and I had these fake glasses. So then I would start growing my beard out specifically for that. Like, oh, I got to do a Mr. Wilson in 2 weeks. I'll start growing out my beard. But that was on me. I was the only one that wanted to do that. No one ever dictated anything like that to me. It's all just on your own, I'd say.
I cried on that one. That was
Barbara one?
incredible. The one Barbara one, yeah.
That one was really bittersweet, and it had kind of, when they shot it, all that the behind the scenes stuff, not behind the scenes, the flashback stuff. I guess they had initially shot it with wigs, and the wigs didn't play very well, so they had shelved that whole episode. And it wasn't until after Carl had died that they really wanted to put it out. So they went back and they reshot all that sort of backstory stuff, and they added in. They had me do a little bit slightly different monologue, a voiceover monologue, just to kind of fill it in a little bit so that they could release it. And it was really nice to see, because that was the last one I made with him. I don't think it was the last one he made at the studio, but it was really nice for me to see that.
Can you give me an idea of let's spend a few minutes talking about what is going on with Dhar Mann Studios. Like Mayor and a bunch of the others are talking about, okay, before I say something that probably isn't true, what is going on there at Dhar Mann Studios? What's this whole issue?
Essentially, we several actors got together and just started talking. We've been working there for years. When we started, it was in an apartment room, and now they have 3 sound stages in Burbank, 100+ employees, shooting constantly. These videos get millions of views, and a lot of stuff have kind of grown up around the studio, but not necessarily us. So we had been talking, and we just thought, like, we did a live event recently, which was really enjoyable to meet with fans, but we weren't paid for that. We got bad seats for the actual premiere of our film. We weren't given like refreshments or anything like that at this thing. There was no security, and so it just that event kind of tipped the scales into sort of discomfort that we didn't really like how we were being treated or communicated to, with various issues. So we wanted to have a meeting with Dhar, who his name is on the channel. He's our boss. He signs our contracts. We work contract to contract to contract per episode that we're in. We wanted to have a meeting with him, and we were denied having a meeting with him specifically. So we decided to protest to get that meeting. We weren't sure if he knew about it or not, even though we had sent a letter to him specifically. We thought maybe he was being gatekept or something like that. But it just pretty quickly developed that he knew about the meeting and didn't want to have this with us, and it was easier for them to do things like call the cops on us rather than come out and talk to us. Those several actors that had decided to move on from that. We have moved on from that. We have a new channel coming out. It's called Good Works on YouTube. There's
nice.
Mayor, Chaz, Rachel, Michael Vaccaro, Dylan Harris. The 6 of us are sort of kind of in charge at the moment, but we're starting a new channel with a pilot show called Good Works, and that's coming out very, very soon. We have I don't know when this might air, but we have an Indiegogo campaign going on right now to just raise some initial funds, and then hopefully the channel will start monetizing itself and we'll be off and running. But it's going to be a comedy series, kind of more in the vein of like an NBC Fox kind of style comedy.
Nice.
A little shorter than an episode of that, but a continuous story, a real life series. And we're all working together to break that story, come up with these characters, and just kind of let them roll. It'll be really fun.
Good Works. I definitely want to subscribe to that, and I definitely might even post this episode early so people get an idea, because we're excited about that. But it's nothing in the vein of Dhar Mann. It's just going to be like a series. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think it's a rather large departure from it, in a good way. it'll be a lot of fun.
And many of them have gone from Dhar Mann. Does that mean that all he has to do is just now will just get more actors and actresses?
Well, yeah, and that is part of that's the deal. We had no security in our job. We just wanted to have a conversation about how to get that security, because we feel that, you know, our faces have helped build this brand. We got the show out of an apartment building into 3 sound stages in Burbank, and there are just, the commercials say it's not Netflix, it's Dhar Mann. We're playing with the big boys, unlike a lot of other YouTube shows. So it just felt like it was time to have a conversation and elevate that. And yeah, that didn't happen, which is too bad. But so yeah, some actors, we knew at the time that at any point he could say no, and it's Hollywood. We're in Hollywood. You step outside and you trip over 6 actors who are more than willing to go and work, and that's great. That's sincerely, any actor that wants to work there is good by me. That's what you got to do. It was a fantastic place to go to work. It just wasn't sustainable, and we thought that it should be, because a lot of people associate the two of us together, Dhar Mann and my face. I can't. I have people. I have a big window right here. People come up to my house to say hello to me because they know me from Dhar Mann. That feels like I should be getting a little bit more than, you know, that I have helped build this thing, and that is owed something. I think they don't. So we've left, and we're starting our own thing. Good Works, works with an E, WERKS.
Just make sure everyone you subscribe to that channel so you get more of Colin Borden. I am pumped. So is it just some actors you thought they were
yeah,
mistreated?
I don't want to go deep into it, but a lot of actors came together to have this meeting. Chaz and I were sent as the 2 representatives because we wanted to save the names of people who might be fired for asking for something, because we knew that was a possibility that might happen. So yeah, some actors who were in our initial conversations decided to stay at the studio, and again, that's totally fine, because it is work. I now don't have a job. They do have a job. Who's the better for it? I don't know, but I'm proud of what we did. I'm proud of the stand that we took. I think that it was a right and honorable thing to do. I think that if you are going to bill yourself as a major player, you have to play by the major rules. And they're not. I think that they probably will start. I think that certain things were brought to light, to borrow a phrase, and the studio is going to change. Dhar did take a meeting with several actors, and things are bettering for the actors there, just like we knew was going to happen. I don't know why that didn't happen initially with us. I don't know why the cops were called instead, but that's kind of what happened. And so we're moving on. Good Works.
The mayor said that there was this cease and desist order because Mari was over at Super Mission or one of these other shows, and Dhar Mann sent a cease and desist order on that. It's like
to Super Mission. Yes, I do know that, because the Super Mission was using what they thought was encroaching on their brand, the logo and things like that. They didn't like that. But other actors who have been involved in the protest Dhar Mann have been received cease and desist orders. Certain influencers and YouTubers have received cease and desist orders for talking about the protest Dhar Mann movement. It's a shame. It's all a shame.
But who was on there first? Like Dhar Mann, you know what? You got Live Glam. Your wife is the owner of Live Glam. You got $200 million. Why don't you just do that and let these actors and actresses be paid well, do their own thing? And I hope that when Good Works comes out, that he doesn't give a cease and desist order. You can't do this. That we'll give you more money if you come back to me. I mean, come on.
No, again, Good Works is very different from Dhar and whatever we were doing over there. And there's certainly no hold over that. We're allowed to work with whoever we want, just like we were then. So yeah, we're just gonna have fun. We're gonna make our show, and it's gonna be good. Good Works.
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to that. Very looking forward to that. No, I'm looking forward to that. Can you give us an idea of what's challenging about bringing a script to life?
I would say the hardest part is time and money. Um, the most enjoyable part is the puzzle of it all. How are these people going to move in space? What does that space look like? Where will the camera go in relation to all that stuff? It becomes a real fun puzzle to put all that kind of stuff together. And then when it's up on its feet, you're in the room, you got the actors, you're putting a camera there, and then it's just icing on the cake, and it's all kind of happening. But yeah, knowing the parameters that you have to work in with consideration for time and money. I have this actor for this amount of time. I wanted to get this space, but now I have to get this space because of the money that we have. That's the hardest part. The negotiating of all of that is definitely the hardest part. And where you can feel really sapped of your creative juices because you're getting like no's from every area, and you just have to kind of zen out and work through it and know that the finish line is getting to play.
That's amazing. I've seen character developments written. So let's say you have a character named Kathy, and she's an FBI agent, or she's a woman, lady of the night, or she's a baker, whatever. Do you have an idea of the actress that's going to be in that character, or do you say, well, like, do you write character developments? Do you kind of bring her to life? Say, okay, she was born in Montana, she's this age, and you give like her whole family, you give her whole history in order to bring her to life, or you just say, okay, Kathy Wilson will be the character. Let's who can audition for it, and then the actress brings it to life. So how does that work?
There's a little bit of both, I would say. The writer has to do their work, whatever that kind of means to them. Certainly, you want to try to keep things that are story important, right? So if Kathy had two sisters, but we never meet the sisters, we never hear about the sisters, yeah, that might influence some of her behavior, the way that she interacts with other women in the script, say, but it's probably not all that important considering the story. So I would say no. I don't do too. If I'm writing, I don't do too detailed of backgrounds for people. You try to keep things relevant to the story. There's going to be things that you come up with that are ultimately jettisoned from the script, but will influence the next scene or a beat here or there. You want to establish relationships with people. Do they know each other before the action of this sort of thing happened? What did that basic relationship look like? Do they like each other? Do they not like each other? Have they known each other for a long time? Do they have a shorthand? That's going to sort of develop into the dialogue. So yeah, you want to be vaguely aware of a lot of stuff. I don't know how deep into detail I go, just for my flavor. And then likewise on the acting side, if I establish that I'm playing Biff to Kathy, and Biff had two brothers, and so that means I'm going to like this. When you're acting, the best thing you can do is have an opinion on everything. A formal opinion on absolutely everything. So I like this character because he reminds me of my brother. And that's just something that I'm going to key into in my brain to bring out into performance. It's something I never maybe have to tell the other actor. It's something I never have to tell the director. It's something I don't have to discuss with the writer of it. It's just something that I know that my character's supposed to like this guy. Well, it's because my character has a brother, and he reminds me of my brother. So I'm going to treat him like that.
But what if your actual brother watches it and said, "Hey, that character's me, isn't it?"
They might.
I'm thinking of the whole Louis Anderson series where he plays a woman, and he was interviewed, and he said that the woman was based on his mother.
Yeah.
So, do you ever heard of the Happy Days incident? Back in the 70s, they had this show called Happy Days, Richie Cunningham. Now, I'm going to mention something. In the early days of Happy Days, Richie had a brother named Chuck, and then about 3 or 4 episodes in, he disappeared. He was never mentioned again. Like, what do you think of those? I've seen those on several series where they just totally eliminate the character, thinking that we don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would say, especially in the early days of TV. Now it's really hard to get past anything like that. But in the early days of TV, it was one and done, right? We didn't really have reruns necessarily. It was just you put out an episode, and it's very ephemeral. But yeah, people get cut, things get cut because you just want to make it the best possible version of itself that it can be, ideally. It never is. It rarely is the best possible version of itself. But you want to just keep kind of striving toward that. And you get so many episodes into something, and you realize either the actor who's playing Chuck isn't working, the need for a Chuck isn't working. Like, we want to have Richie have these kinds of stories, and a brother is influencing that too much. Well, we'll just get rid of him. And now he needs the Fonz. The Fonz becomes his brother, and now those stories are going to develop in that way. So I would assume that is something like that would happen, and I'm totally for it. I feel bad for the guy that played Chuck, but hopefully he got another part later and had a great career.
Married with Children, his Steve Marcy's first husband left, and she married someone by the name of Darcy.
Yeah.
Because why? Because they didn't think the other actor was working, or did they just think they want to go in a different direction?
Probably all of it.
Like, you know what jumping the shark is? You know where that term came from?
Yeah, from the fence.
Yeah. So when you actually replace characters, like when Richie Cunningham, I knew that when Richie Cunningham, the actor, Ron Howard, left that series and they replaced it with the same guy that played Mr. Darcy, you knew that it was just going to jump the shark. You knew the whole series was going to go down.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why they do that. You realize that you're going to end the series. And some actually are successful, but others, forget it. Like, you remove an actor, you remove a character. Like CSI Miami, the actor stayed there for the whole series, but some, I think, characters left. If you're not the main character, you can leave without any problem.
Yeah, I mean, The Office, they carried on for a few years after Steve Carell, but it certainly wasn't quite the same. And some of that has to do with our comfort level with people. You establish a bond. They sit there in your living room and make you feel really wonderful things, joy and sadness and love, and you just form a bond with people. Everybody does it. So when that element leaves your living room, it just feels hollow. You don't want to go to that Christmas party anymore because Uncle Bob's not there. It's just going to be kind of sad watching all that. I think that's sort of what happens, and a show, a gigantic show like that makes a lot of money for a lot of people, they want to keep trying to make it work and see what will work, and it just kind of organically happens like that, I think. But yeah, the people attach to what they attach to, and it's really hard to know that before it starts. I'm sure a lot of people stopped watching Happy Days when Chuck left because they
I understand that whole issue with jumping the shark and removing certain actors and replacing them, and sometimes it's a good idea, sometimes the show gets better, like Cheers, for instance, when Shelley Long left and dear Kirstie Alley was replaced. Cheers went on. It was better than when Shelley was on it. I want to ask you, so what is a grueling stress like when, let's say, your script is over and you want to find the actors and actresses when you start shooting? How do you go about doing that? How would you get the actress that plays the character Janet Smith, who's a CEO of a company? How do you do the auditions?
Well, there's several avenues of doing that. For me, I like to start with people that I know that I've worked with. I got a great company of actors who are just really good and really game. And then after that, you would put out a casting call, either through a casting director or you gaff it yourself. And yeah, you get a couple pages from the script and you got a real rough log line. Janet Smith is a CEO. She, something about in the process of the story, she will do this, right? Like, she's there to shut down the company or something. And then, yeah, you accept what's called an acting reel, which is a compilation of an actor's work, their headshot, their reel. You look at that, you sift through all that, you think like, oh yeah, that looks like she could be a Janet. And then you look at somebody who looks completely different. You go like, oh yeah, I think that she looks like a Janet. She could be a Janet. And then you invite them to an audition, and part of that process certainly is, one, does it feel right? Do they look right against the other actors that you maybe have already hired or that you're considering? And do they seem like a cool person? Like you got to hang out with them for a while, and you got to work with them and get to know them. So ideally, in the process of your audition, you're giving them a note just to see how they react. Not necessarily if they can take the exact note that you gave, but how are they reacting to the idea of notes? How are they interpreting the way that you talk? Do you guys have a rapport early on? Is there like kind of an instant chemistry? That's one of the hardest things to realize about, not to realize maybe, but to kind of reckon with, on the acting side of it, is it has so little to do with your talent, why you do or do not book a part. There are so many other things that go into it, that are just completely outside of your control. So that's why you kind of have to keep auditioning, keep going, because the parts are out there for you, but not necessarily every time you walk into that audition room you're going to get something, because there's just so many things. You look around like, oh, this is Janet and this is Janet, and they look completely different, but there's just something about that feeling that you get off of somebody, and then you also look good against that person, and you also have a schedule open, and you also so it's a really fun process from a directing standpoint. It can be a little disheartening sometimes because you don't find the person right away. You really want to find the person, and they don't necessarily show up on day one necessarily, but it's really fun. I like actors. I like getting to watch actors act, and it's amazing the way a script can be interpreted. That somebody can come up with a completely different version of the same exact text, and to watch that is illuminating and exciting.
Do you ever have to think of changing the way the character is when you find out that the actress that you hired to play that part does not match what you wanted? She's a good actor, but she's not really so did you have to go in the script and change the whole character?
I've never had to completely change an entire character, but yeah, there becomes a collaboration where it can be very exciting to say, like, I want you in this part. I didn't realize what I had written was what you were doing, but you are the character. So I want to bring you in, and maybe we'll adjust this here, or if somebody's having a harder time, like you again, in the audition process, you want to try to hit all of the beats that this actor is supposed to do for you, right? So if they have to have some big wild screaming, crying scene, as hard as it is to muster in an audition room, you want to give them that scene, and let them interpret that, and kind of see if there's an inkling of that in their performance, just so that you have all the ducks in the order and you kind of know what you're getting going in. But yeah, maybe you get on the set one day and they can't do something. It's a physical thing that they can't do. It's an emotional place that they can't get to. You either recast or you adjust, and that's the fun puzzle of it the whole time. The movie's never done. You have a crackerjack script, you got some fantastic actors, but the camera doesn't work, so you got to pivot. You've shot the whole darn thing, you have two endings, you got to pivot, and that's the fun puzzle of it. It's constantly changing. You never know, you're always off balance, and that's kind of the fun of it.
Do you feel that Colin, you feel that you're typecast, Dhar Mann, or do people know you as a director, that know you as a producer, that say, hey, Dhar Mann, hey, Car, hey?
I'm very much connected to Dhar Mann. Yeah, Dhar Mann is in my obituary no matter when I go. I'll just be walking down the street and hey, Dhar Mann. I just went to my kid's school today to go read to her class. The whole playground full of kids. Hey, Dhar Mann, Dhar.
Well, they think you're Dhar Mann, or they're just trying to say Dhar Mann actor?
They just call me Dhar Mann.
Yeah. I saw that you directed X-Men First Class Rejects. What was that like?
And that's a little a really funny little comedy sketch that this comedy group called The Cool Table had written and came to me and to my friends, Rob Overbeck, who has been my producer for a long time. together. They came and they said, like, we had this idea for this. X-Men First Class was coming out, so this was the guys who didn't make it. There's a guy who can turn expensive things into ice cream. There's a guy who can urinate with incredible force, and a couple of slightly ruder ones. So yeah, they had this really funny script, and we kind of put it together, and we kind of fleshed it out into finding other, funny characters with weird powers, and kind of playing around with what things looked like in the edit. Yeah, that was a really fun one. I think it turned out well. It had the right amount of stoogey goofiness and kind of the proper epic trailer feel. I mean, I think that's ultimately why they came to us. They had the comedy down, no problem. They, as a tight group, the Cool Table, knew exactly what they were doing, but they wanted to kind of elevate it and have that proper trailer look to it. So yeah, we were able to pull that off for them, and it was fun.
Do you have a favorite movie that you directed?
That I directed? Oh boy.
Besides that one.
The Herd is a real favorite. Scary Fingers, fantastic. I did this one, which I don't know if I'm going to put out necessarily. It's called Abigail.
Well, here we go. Abigail
and the Pearl Thieves. Based on this character that I have named Walter S. Houghington III, who's sort of an Edwardian Indiana Jones type hero. And we have I've got a cartoon that I've created that will one day come out. It's myself and my partner, Benjamin Callahan, who's a fantastic editor. He edited a lot of this stuff. He and I have just been doing all the work, and in the midst of that, we've had kids and weddings and moved across the country, and so it's just taking forever to make this cartoon. But this really great kind of, I call it's the mix between Downton Abbey and Indiana Jones. I love the world, this character, and one day I'll put it on YouTube.
Yeah, you're all very good, talented actors and actresses, and I know I'm supposed to call the female actor, and all. Look, you're all great actors. How about that? Wonderful stories. And did you get a chance to direct any of them on Dhar Mann?
No, not on Dhar. No, they have really wonderful directors there, and some who are not working there anymore. Yeah, they're the process for their directing. You have to essentially go to directing camp for a couple weeks, and then you like intern for a little bit, and then finally you get to become an official director. I never and the directors shoot everything on their own. You hoist up the camera and run it around and pull your own focus for the most part. One of the crews has a fantastic focus point. But yeah, it was. I didn't really have much interest in ever asking or pursuing that, because they have it all locked down over there.
But I'm surprised. Like, you guys are wanting to get a meeting with him. Why didn't you just call him up or just knock on his door? Like, didn't you have any access to him during filming?
No. No. He mostly works from home. He pops by the studio every now and then.
What?
And yeah, we didn't want to bombard him, so that's why we wrote a letter. We delivered a physical letter to the offices. We're not allowed in the offices, so we delivered it to the offices, and it was brought ideally to his desk, was the hope, and then we emailed him. We guessed at his email address, but it didn't get kicked back to me, so we assumed we got it correct. So yeah, all we wanted to do was have a conversation. We did not want to bombard him with anything. We didn't want to make him feel like his back was up against the wall. So yeah, we went through a polite, kind channel of trying to set up a meeting. We didn't know exactly how to reach him, so that we took 2 shots.
So I take it that when you're acting yourself to become a certain person, you probably researched the part, right? Like, I mean,
yes.
the FBI part that you did in that one Dhar Mann episode where you were the FBI, you didn't have to research that one, because
some of yeah. But like the first time I played a teacher, which wasn't Mr. Wilson, but it was a teacher. My mom was in education for decades, and so I called up her and I kind of talked to her about, what a teacher does. Like, I've been in classes plenty, but I'm just trying to get her perspective on what a teacher is, and their view of the classroom and how they dress and how they stand and how they act, and just trying to like pick her brain for stuff like that. Yeah, on something like Dhar, I didn't do too much research into everything because of the way that they're written. They're these morality plays, and mostly just playing shades of myself, being dads and men who get cheated on and stuff like that. Like I can handle all that without too much. But before I left, I don't know if they'll post the episode because I played a fellow who had been in a horrible car accident and was quadriplegic, and I researched that because.
Oh yeah.
Spoiler alert, I don't know if it'll come out, but he has moved. He does eventually have movement. I think that's why they cast me rather than a person who properly, because they do try to do that. Look for people that have a real condition or whatever. I wanted to make sure that I was getting the physicality there and the emotionality there and the reality there, at least honestly. I don't know how technically proper it would be, but if I can be honest to something, rather then I feel good. Then I feel like I've done some amount of due diligence. When I did the Klingon play, I watched a lot of episodes of Star Trek, but ultimately your job is to do your character's work in the script, right? And you want to flesh that out with your opinions, with your characterizations, and from that's where research kind of comes in. If you're sat down at a desk when you're playing an FBI agent, what does an FBI agent do at their desk? What are the little things that you can kind of do to color the world and bring that honesty to your character? A lot of people like to complain about, an actor who doesn't hold their gun properly or doesn't know how to oh, that's not how you fill out one of those forms. And that, I understand, like, that's your life and you understand how to fill out those forms. But the actor is just trying to get through it. And they probably looked up how to fill out a form. They talked to somebody. It's probably a really bad example, filling out a form, but you know what I mean. You want to bring the honesty to it, not and as much of the technical proper everything that you can, but at the end of the day, your job is to serve the story. And if they need you to really quickly move through the gag or whatever, even though you've done your research and you know that this filling out this form takes 15 minutes and you got to check all these boxes, but they need it done in 15 seconds. You got to do it in 15. You got to, you just got to play it honestly. This is how I would do that.
So it's kind of interesting.
It's the same thing with basic human behavior. We're dramatizing everything. You and I are having a conversation, and every now and then we stumble over a word, or we search for something, or we don't. We kind of look down and stuff like that. That's all kind of human behavior, and we want to have moments of that. But at the end of the day, we really just want a good story, and we want it to move at a certain pace, and we want to enjoy ourselves. So everything is sort of given over to drama, to dramatization. Because it's at the end of the day, it's just more enjoyable. But cinema verite didn't take off, for a reason.
The one thing about being an actor is that if you're going to play a serial killer or a rapist or whatever, you don't want that to be where people say, "Look, there's the rapist." Oh, look, oh, there's the serial killer. No, I'm the actor that played the serial killer. I'm not like that. It's kind of hard because it's and. Do you expect the audience to what do you expect them to take away from that character? That they did a good job as an actor and they're so talented? Or, well, I wouldn't want to, like, I've read many comments that I wouldn't want to meet that actor outside. So why? He's just an actor.
Yeah.
Like, you read the comments in Dhar Mann and dramatize me. So my original question, what do you expect the audience to take away from that character?
What do I expect? I don't know. I just expect I'm an entertainer and I want people to have a good time and have a cathartic, emotional human experience. So yeah, if for the period of whatever I'm doing, they fully believe that I'm a whatever, great. That means I did my job, and hopefully they left happy, even if they were, in the process sad, scared, whatever. I hope that they had that experience and they're happy about it. Yeah, I would like sometimes. I can't tell you how many times I've had to tell people I'm not a real teacher. But at the same time, I sincerely appreciate the compliment, that's being afforded at the end of the day. That says, like, I believed you. That's all that they're saying. And that's the whole magic trick of acting. So I certainly appreciate it.
Well, if you're a director and a producer and editor, and you wanted to act in your own script, how do you do all of them in one shot? Like, you want to be the actor, you're in front of the camera. What do? You say, oh, hold on, I didn't like the way I did it, so I'm going to try it again. How do you direct yourself?
Yeah, I think that's what you do. And then you have a collaborator that you can really trust, maybe one or two. A great director of photography who's there behind the camera, and you don't have to watch every take worrying about something, right? You know that they're there making sure that the physical image is good. And then you maybe have a producer or a first assistant director who's there to kind of help keep the performance, your personal performance, in check and honest to what you've already had meetings about, right? Like, so you'll meet with all these people, you'll kind of prep, this is the movie, this is the scene, this is the point of this is the tone that I want. And then, yeah, you just, like any other actor, you wind it up and let it go and see what kind of comes out in the moment in the scene. That feel good? Yeah, that felt good. Let's move on. Let's try it again. Maybe adjust this, and we'll do it. Jason Bateman, who directed and acted, like pretty much all of what's the show?
House on the Prairie.
And Ozark. He just recently did the show Ozark. He said, when you're doing the directing bits, you do the directing bits. When you're doing the acting bits, you do the acting bits.
Wow. I was going to ask you I don't want to say famous, but who would you like to collaborate with? I guess it would be Jason Bateman. No. Who would you like to
totally work with Jason Bateman. There's an actor called Lakeith Stanfield who I'd love to work with. Yes, there's a lot. The people who I like are the folks who seem to be serious about what they do. They can pull off surprising things within their basic framework of whatever genre or character type that they're working in, and seem like they'd be a good time to hang out with. Like that's an important element too. You show up when it's time to work, you work, and otherwise we can just have a fun conversation and all go home at the end of the day feeling like it was a good time. I think that's important.
Well, talk about fun conversations, Colin. This was an excellent time together.
Likewise.
Yeah, so with Anna, do you compare notes?
All the time. Yeah, I mean, if I'm acting on something like with a Dhar Mann, like she doesn't come to the set or anything like that, and I don't really watch any Dhars unless, of course, I really want to see something that I did. So she doesn't really watch them, so we don't really talk about that necessarily. But yeah, anything that where the lead, a producer, a writer, a director on. A constant talking about, hey, what about this? Like right now, we're writing something right now, and it's just whatever. Hey, I was wondering about this. What do you think about this? Just a quick text message and kind of hash it out and think about it. Yeah, it's a great collaboration. I think I'm trying to push her into a next big project where she will direct and I will act yeah, I'm trying to push her into it.
Yeah, I mean, is she going to be part of this Good Works YouTube channel? Is she going to be in it or directing it, or?
Probably not. No, I mean, she has her legitimate studio directing career is really taking off right now. She's directing all sorts of television and producing television. So I'm trying to I'm trying to ride her coattails appropriately without, pulling her into another avenue that she doesn't need to be in. But if I can convince her to direct me in a feature film, I'm all about that. But
well, Colin, I don't know, that might happen. We actually had Lucas Cantor on our podcast some time ago, and his wife is writer for Cleaning lady.
Oh yeah.
She writes for Cleaning Lady. Yeah, she writes the music and everything. So
Okay.
yeah, isn't that kind of interesting? I mean, like,
It's a good old Albuquerque show, I think. Is she in Albuquerque?
yeah. I'm kind of interested. I looked all over your YouTube channel in Her Majesty's Secret Sewers. I don't see the
Yes,
actual. I only see the
that's
trailer.
the
Where,
cartoon. That's the cartoon that will one day be finished. it's
uh,
it's really good. It's funny. It's made in a sort of a limited animation style akin to Archer, which is now a dated reference because Archer, I don't know if Archer's on the TV anymore, but at the time when we were making it, so it's sort of it's puppets, essentially 2D animated puppets. So it's really kind of the adventure angle of it. It's not like an anime. There's not like big fight scenes or anything like that, but it is a story about going into the sewer system below Buckingham Palace and discovering a really horrible reality about what's going on in the sewers beneath Buckingham Palace and Her Majesty's secret sewers.
what are you going to do it when you see William and Kate are living in the sewers? And then a cliffhanger right there.
Yeah.
Excellent trailer. What is your favorite genre? Like, if you had to do an action film, would that be very hard for you because you had to do a lot of blowing up cars and stuff? How would you take that?
I'd love it. I mean, the thing that I really seemingly enjoy doing is something with a bit of a macabre bent sort of thing. Something like The Herd, which is about futuristic. I don't want to give away too much of that one. Go watch The Herd, but it's about a dystopian kind of future, or Scary Finger, about just a normal guy who's in his office and something really kind of gruesome happens to him. I like telling those stories, but not in a gruesome way. Like The Herd, as far as I was concerned, was a story about a family, and that they lived in this dystopian future was sort of coloring to their world, and that this sort of big action sequence at the end happens was just sort of something that happened to this poor family. But at the beginning, we shot it like a family drama, and it acted like a family drama. Likewise for Scary Finger, it's really a story about just a guy who's kind of going through something that's a little bit exceptional. So every time, if I can ground it in a basic, couch it in a real simple kind of accessible thing, that opens it up, and then it just kind of becomes a question of where you put the camera, right? I can go and I can talk to an actor about this is your mom, just be with your mom. Yeah, but we're wearing spacesuits and that's things about to explode. Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy if that happened with you and your mom? Just talk to your mom. The more you ground it, the easier it becomes. So doing something like a big action sequence where, all these cars are blowing up and the bridge is crumbling, and how does that connect to the story? How does that connect to the basic theme? And then it just becomes a question of where you put the camera. Do you put it in a place that's going to be really cool, or do you put it in a place that's going to properly tell the story? There's a moment at the end of The Herd where a character is getting strangled. I said, I want to shoot this particular shot like a love scene. So we kind of lit it a little bit softer and nicer. We did a nice, real gentle kind of push in. But it's a really horrible thing that's happening on screen. But contextualizing it within the idea of a love scene grounds it for everybody, and we kind of, everybody on the camera side of it kind of knows what we're doing. We can kind of work on that, and it elevates the sort of gruesome nature of it. If I were to just like make it like, oh, he's strangling her, and then let's shake the camera and make it feel like we are the character, that does something to it. But something about removing just allowing that gruesome thing to happen within a rather relatively nice setting. The sun is kind of coming into the window, and the camera's kind of gently pulling up. Makes it all the more kind of gruesome and terrifying. So I didn't want to just do something cool with the camera. I wanted to influence the story. I wanted to influence the beat. I wanted to really kind of drive it home. I wanted to have a reason for doing that. That's the only angle that we shot that thing from. We didn't cover it in any other direction. I knew that's what I wanted, so that's what we did. So yeah, to ramble even further. Where am I going to put the camera to blow up the car? Well, it depends on what's going on in the story. But I could do it. I could do it no problem, and it would be a lot of fun to do.
I think you could. And I've seen a lot of behind the scenes movies and how they do where they put the camera. Sometimes they put the camera underneath the car in order to capture that half a second clip of the car going down this road. They probably made like they shot this for about an hour just to get that half a second little. Like that's kind of the finger. Yeah, you're saying me about the finger. Oh, hold on.
Oh, just like a little camera going. Yeah. And that little car, just a real quick little thing. Yeah, it takes hours. And
what's your thoughts on veganism? Because I'm looking at the herd and I'm thinking, okay, people are gonna like that. I have a friend who's vegan and he's gonna watch that.
One of our actors was a vegetarian. So one of my personal thoughts on veganism: do it. If that's what you want to do it. It's not for me at the moment, but yeah, anything that doesn't hurt somebody else, live your life.
Yeah, and you can fake anything. So if you could satisfy vegans, but you had to write a movie where the animal's being killed. It's always a way to fake it. Like I knew some way that you can actually fake smoking a cigarette, like the smoking man from X-Files. He never smoked. But there's a way that you can make it look like you are a smoker, just a way that, you put near your lips. And so that's kind of interesting. My friend's a staunch vegan, but I will sit down and eat vegan because I like a lot of the vegan recipes.
Oh, there's some really delicious stuff. Yeah. I make, we do meatless Mondays in our house.
Nice.
We try to eat a lot of veg.
So what are you passionate about? What kind of social issues you're passionate about?
Social issues. The things that really, I don't understand why we all can't get along. At the end of the day, that's kind of the main thing. Like people have things that they like, things that they feel are very important to their personal well-being, and that is good and that is important. But why does your viewpoint necessarily need to infringe on my joy, pursuit of happiness? And that's obviously a very blanket statement for things that have myriad issues to it. But yeah, when I do a lot of TikTok lives and things like that, and people ask me, do you support LGBTQ? Do you support Muslims? And I'm shocked at the way that those questions constantly come up to me. And the answer is, of course, yes. Are they human beings living on our planet, doing their best to, find their personal joys, provide for their families? Yes. Why rock to whom they pray to whom they love, to what they eat? Why are these things? If you have consenting adults of sound mind and body, please live your life. And why must we get in their way of that? So those are kind of that's my big qualm with humanity at the moment is why we have to suddenly start jumping into people's personal homes and things like that. Other than that, yeah, I mean, not to go on too big of a topic here, but I mean, guns. I have 2 small children in school. Very scary. My business is in crowds. I like a crowd. I like in theaters and all sorts of places like that. And it's just scary stuff. I think a gun ownership is important. It's a perfectly viable right and privilege. I don't know why we need to have a machine that can mow down 15 people in seconds, accessible to, even the military. why does that need to exist in the world, and why can anybody go and get one of those things? So gun control, I'm very passionate about, and then just good old fashioned live your life mental health stuff.
Well, that's a lot of stress to put on. I said, like talking about Mental Health Day, obviously being director, producer, actor, everything, CEO, baker, they all have stress and they all have to take care of their mental health.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, what was your life like? And did you ever have a fear that it's going to kill you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've said multiple times to friends and family and things like that, if it weren't for all that existential dread, the pandemic was lovely.
Oh,
My kids were my son turned 1 February, just yesterday was his birthday, his 4th birthday.
yes. Happy birthday.
We threw a party for him on March 8th or something like that. Had 80 people over to our house. I had just finished 2 plays, so like the cast and crews from those came over. My wife had just finished working on a film. All those people came over, friends, family. Had a
Were
huge
any of them
party.
Dhar Mann actors and actresses?
No, because I had only done a
Oh.
couple of bars at that point.
Oh.
I must have invited somebody, but I don't know if anybody came. But
Mhm.
so that was March 8th, March 14th, the world shuts down, and so we were terrified about all the people that we had just in our house. But my 2 little guys, our 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, they wanted to be home with us,
Mm.
and we did morning yoga. We watched this YouTube yoga person. We did morning yoga. We wrote. My daughter was working on writing, so every day we wrote a letter to a family member, real
Wow.
short, "Hey, how are you?" kind of thing, and mailed it. We walked to the mailbox. We took long walks doing hide and
Nice.
seek things. My wife and I got very into cocktails and would sit out on the porch and have an evening cocktail while the kids, played in the yard. And I wrote a musical with a friend.
Nice.
He wrote the music. I didn't write the music. He wrote the music and lyrics. I wrote the book. We put that up with a digitally with a theater community in Philadelphia. So I was here in Los Angeles directing from my computer all these 20 kids in Philadelphia from their homes. I did 3 other plays. And I was working with Dhar pretty much the whole time. We were back in April. We started back shooting, and they kept things safe. We were masked until we had to be in front of the camera. They cleaned things. So yeah, but I was absolutely terrified that it was going to come into my house. My kids would get it. At the time, it seemed like the 1-year-old would be okay.
Mm.
But the 4-year-old was going to be in a terrible place.
Wow.
I was really concerned for my family, my extended family. My parents are in that, they probably hate me to say this. They're seniors, they're in that checked box of like, oh, these people are more in trouble. I remember every day. Do you remember the R naught number? That was like early COVID, talking about the R naught number. I'd sit there and swipe through the R naught numbers of every state, just watching this, like trying to figure out how Nebraska has a low R naught. Maybe Nebraska is like a good key factor on how this thing is going. And yeah, other than the existential dread, I had a brilliant pandemic.
Well, hey, there are people going to watch you and say, "What an asshole! People died." Excellent. Okay, everyone. So we're going to end the stream, but we're going to ask: is there a model or something you want to tell our audience that might help them, like a Dhar Mann type of message? What would you give?
Bertolt Brecht, old theater guy, has this was a piece of advice he had that I guess he gave to everybody. I have it on my. I have it written down here. Once more, and with more laughter, and just he was using it in terms of the process that they were going through, directing process and stuff like that. But you can apply it to life. Everything is going to be ultimately everything's okay. We're all here for a certain amount of time. Some things are very important. Stress about some things, but if you can get through it, try it with a little laughter the next time you come back to it, right? Like I don't want to give examples. Yeah, but you know what I mean. Once more and with more laughter.
That's excellent. Love it. Everyone, Colin A. Borden from Dhar Mann Studios and Dhar Mann actor. We really appreciate
Good
you being on
works.
our podcast.
Check out Good Works.
Good works too. And just make sure that you provide me all your links and that YouTube channel, new YouTube channel. And the best of Colin A. Borden from Dhar Mann will be linked down below, and
Perfect.
some of the best episodes I've seen him in, and linked of his movies, and also Scary Finger, and the time travel one will be down there, and The Herd, which, if I were you, if you're a vegan, please don't watch that one.
Yeah.
Okay, Colin, this is excellent. All right, really appreciate you talking to us today. So we're gonna end the stream, but can you just wait around a bit? Hold on
Yeah.
1 second. See you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.
This is Gary Strout, Steph Carvanes, and Pat Malakowski, my associates.
Hi. This is a motion for continuance. We're going to need more time to prepare our defense. The officer's report states that he didn't canvass for additional witnesses.
And no one is contesting that Mr. Babineau struck the officer.
Be that as it may, there are several businesses nearby with security cameras. We need time to subpoena all of them.
We'd simply like to have the most complete information at our disposal.